Hello everyone, welcome back to the Sports Vault. Jersey Joe Archino back here, and welcome to my Premier League table ranking special series. And every single day leading up to the start of the season, we've been breaking it all down, and we find ourselves with 6 days until the start of the league, and let me tell you, trying to rank the 6th team that I think will finish in this spot at the end of the season, I think this was the hardest one by far for me. But to kind of recap it all, at 10 I had Crystal Palace, number 9 I had Stoke City, number 8 I had West Ham United, and then in number 7 I had Liverpool. But number 6 I have Leicester City Football Club, and for me this was a very hard place. I went back and forth between 5th and 6th place for Leicester City a million times in my head, and part of me still does think I might be making a mistake and they could finish in the 5th spot, but I just think at the end of the day I woke up with that feeling putting them in the 6th spot. And look, if Mahrez leaves, I think that's certainly a situation that I'll feel better about, but if Mahrez stays put, which I do think that he probably will, I don't think that there's any reason why Leicester can't finish in 5th, but I think around that 5th, 6th spot is where they certainly do belong. And of course, they gave us the greatest story in English Premier League history last season. Maybe not just English Premier League history, but I would contend that in sports history, that might be the most meaningful title that I've ever seen. In the story following the team, it's one of those things where they were galvanized every single time they took the pitch. They had the consistency unlike anyone else, and they were just showed that, and they really made us rethink the model of what wins. And I think you had to look at the conventional way of doing things where money and prestige were trumped by unity and community, and that's something that I think Leicester will continue to do now. Of course, you see here I had them in either 5th or 6th, but I went with 6 here. I don't think, of course, they'll win the title, but I do think they're going to have a very good year. It's not an indictment at all being 6th place, because this is going to be the most competitive Premier League season I think we've seen in 10 years. Just look at the amount of managers that have come into power here. Being in 6th place in a league like this where Pep Guardiola and Jose Mourinho and Conte and Klopp and all these huge names have taken over, and you have talent everywhere now. No matter if you're in the top 10 in the Premier League, that means a lot more than in some other leagues around the world. But I do think Leicester will have a very strong year. And Ranieri is right. He has said right from the start that he expects more losses. That's just the way things go after you win the title. It's very difficult to defend that, and we haven't seen it in a long time. But I certainly do think that they're still in store for a good year. We continue to see it, and I think the most important thing is they have kept the biggest pieces of the club intact. Yes, they lost N'Golo Kante to Chelsea, and that's a loss that's going to hurt them. But I think largely Vardy back. Mahrez, I think, will be there, although you never know. The transfer window is still going to be open for a little while, even when we get into the start of the season. If he does leave, though, I think that does change a lot. I still wouldn't take them too far from 6. I'd probably keep them penciled in there, even with Mahrez leaving. But with Mahrez, I think there's no question that they could get to that 5th spot, maybe even 4, depending on what happens with Tottenham and Arsenal. But I think largely Leicester City has the community, they have the connectivity, they know how to play, they still have great players. I mean, Wes Morgan is such an important piece of what they do. And I think one of the things that doesn't get talked about enough is Ranieri's substitutions. Last season, there wasn't a better manager in the league who brought in more effective subs off the bench, who just knew how to use their bench better than Ranieri did. And I think that's going to serve him very well again. And I think all you need to really do is look at last season. And I mean, after Leicester lost 3 times last season, and they didn't lose after February 14th. But 2 of their losses were to Arsenal, one earlier in the season, and then the other one on February 14th. And then after that, they didn't lose again during the year. And it's one of those things where they showed the story of why they really did win last year was they had the hiccup against 2 of them against Arsenal. They had a hiccup against Liverpool, but they didn't drop points against any of the clubs that they shouldn't. Tottenham Hotspur dropped points against clubs they shouldn't. Arsenal did. Arsenal had 7 losses last season. Some of them to clubs they had no business losing to. Tottenham had 6 losses last season. Some of them were to clubs they had no business losing to. You go up and down the list with Manchester City, Manchester United, all the top clubs. That is a reoccurring theme. And the one club who got it done consistently against the clubs they should have always been beating was Leicester City. And I do think that's a firm blueprint they have that will continue to stay with them this season. But all eyes are going to be on the defending champions because of what they did with the 5,000 to 1 odds, overcoming those gigantic obstacles in winning the league. I don't think any of us expect them to win the league this season. Some people have them dramatically going down towards the bottom, but it's just not going to happen when you have the culture they now have instilled there. It has tasted the very peak of winning and accomplished everything you could want to. They've done it all. They have players. They have a great manager. They're bonded together. All of those things are a recipe, and there's no question the people who are putting them down in the table are just wrong. They will have a good season. It's just going to be a hyperly competitive Premier League season. I have them in 6th, and I probably would have them up a little bit higher, and you'll hear me when eventually we get to Tottenham Hotspur, but I do think it's going to be a difficult transition for them to make, being in the Champions League, having to play those matches, and all the other matches that they're going to have to get used to playing. It's just a different breed when you've never been in that competition before, and you're trying to balance and put together different lineups. Ranieri is going to have to do some different things, but being there is certainly an exciting testament for a guy like Vardy and a guy like Mahrez and all those players who really haven't tasted that stage before. I'm excited to see Leicester in the Champions League stage, but I do think it's a great year. It's just going to be such a competitive league, and that's largely why I do have them in 6th, but you kind of heard me, and I had a conflict in my heart because I wanted to put them at 5 so badly. And again, that's contingent upon if Mahrez does stay and he's there. I don't think there's any reason why they can't finish in that 5th place spot. But it's just going to be such a competitive league, and that's why it's the best league in the world. There's not another league in the world where you could legitimately look and say that there are 7 clubs that could finish almost anywhere on the table. It's not in La Liga, it's not in France, it's not in Serie A, it's not in the Bundesliga, it's only in the Premier League. But we're 6 days away. The series will continue tomorrow as we break down the 5th one. I'm tempted to tell you the club now, but you can just listen tomorrow and find that one out. Jersey Joe Archino here with the Sports Vault. You can follow me on Twitter at Joe Archino and on Instagram Jersey_Joe_Archino. And I'll see everybody next time.